Seth Rollins has done it again, capturing the WWE World Heavyweight Championship by cashing in his Money in the Bank contract in the main event of one of WWE's biggest shows, robbing CM Punk of his glorious moment in the sun and redeeming himself as the architect, the Monday Night Messiah, and every other namesake he has called himself over the past decade. When Seth Rollins won the Money in the Bank briefcase earlier this summer, everyone was hearkening back to the Seth Rollins of old, the same Seth Rollins that won the briefcase back in 2014. And that moment sits as the genesis of the Seth Rollins character and the rise of Rollins as a singles star. However, the moment that he had at SummerSlam in many ways also defines the latter part of Rollins' career. Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania 31 came out of nowhere, and it is a moment that will never be replicated as long as WWE is around. There had never been a Money in the Bank cash-in in the middle of a main event of WrestleMania ever before, and there has not been one since. Yet, Rollins' cash-in was so surprising that people in the match didn't even know what was happening until just a few moments before. And that now iconic shot of Rollins hoisting up the WWE title is now paralleled with this visual of him standing over a beaten, battered, and bruised CM Punk, a guy who has worked so hard to get back to the top of the mountain time after time again, only to run into Seth Rollins every time. Because remember, not only has Seth Rollins now cost CM Punk his first World Championship run, ending it in 5 minutes, 10 seconds, but Rollins was also the guy who ruined CM Punk's moment at WrestleMania, CM Punk's first ever WrestleMania main event. Rollins walked away the winner in that now infamous moment where Paul Heyman turned on both CM Punk and Roman Reigns in that match. And right now, Seth Rollins as the world champion brings with it the potential for some great storytelling. You obviously have a match that they are setting up between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. That is going to happen. It is an inevitability at this point, whether it happens at Clash in Paris or in the Australia show they're going to have in a couple of weeks. It will happen soon. But beyond that, the Seth Rollins cash-in now gives WWE the opportunity to do a bit of a role reversal from where Seth was in 2015. Whereas in 2015, Rollins was the newcomer, the new kid on the block, the guy who was looking to establish himself as a main event guy in the WWE universe. This version of Seth Rollins sits as an established act who now has two young guys behind him. One dude who we all believe is going to be a future WrestleMania main eventer in Braun Breaker. And despite Braun's potential injury at SummerSlam, assuming he's healthy, the plan should be for Braun to be the guy to eventually take the belt off of Seth Rollins. Everything about it is just too perfect. You have the student and mentor dynamic that has developed between these two and that they can develop over the next couple of months. You also have now Paul Heyman as a wild card, someone who is prone to go with wherever the wind takes him. Paul Heyman has always been the guy to attach himself to the current big star of that era, whether it was Brock Lesnar, whether it was Roman Reigns, it didn't matter. Paul Heyman knew exactly where the tide was heading, and there's a chance that it could be headed towards Braun Breaker. You could do that and tell a story where Braun is a heel and takes the belt away from a babyface Seth Rollins, but in my view, the more interesting thing to do is to build Braun Breaker up as a babyface, and I think that there's a way to do it that helps everyone if you have him do a bit of a resentful turn leading up to Mania and a Royal Rumble win. And that's the awesome thing about Seth Rollins winning this match. The downside, obviously, is that this continues an unfortunate run for Punk, who has been a champion now 3 times ever since he returned to pro wrestling back in 2021, and all of those championship reigns being very prematurely ended. One by injury, one by an injury, and the brawl out situation that happened after All Out 2022, and now a Money in the Bank cash-in. And for Punk, the question is not when, but if he will get another serious chance to be the world champion. He's no spring chicken. He's had quite the number of injuries over the past couple of years that call his long-term future in WWE in doubt. And while Punk, I don't think, is going to go away from the company, his future in the ring is definitely a question mark as far as how long he can go. And if now was the only time you were going to put the belt on him, you could definitely make the argument that the reign should have at least lasted for a pay-per-view or two. CM Punk is probably WWE's most polarizing and captivating star. Not their biggest, but captivating. When Punk says something, when Punk has a mic in his hand, everyone pays attention. Everyone is on the edge of their seat. And WWE does not really have many people who can do the things that CM Punk does. And there's a lot of compelling storytelling, a lot of compelling moments if you're WWE that you could have created by stretching this out more. But I understand, though, they did this whole injury angle with the intention of having this big bait and switch with Seth Rollins. And the moment itself was really cool, with Seth Rollins coming out on crutches only to reveal that it was a ruse this entire time. I think that it adds an element of deviousness and cunning to the Seth Rollins character that, quite frankly, was missing prior to tonight. And it adds another level of danger to what this new group can be. Because originally it felt like they were just putting Rollins with 2 heaters behind him, and there were really no dimensions of their character. However, ever since Rollins has been away, you've seen that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker have kind of had to come into their own, and it has allowed them to actually build up their characters beyond being the 2 guys behind Seth Rollins. Now they are established acts as well, and you have the ability now with Seth Rollins to be going back to his roots. And by that I mean being more so the architect that he was once known to be, rather than Seth frickin' Rollins. I think a career renaissance for Rollins means going back to being a serious act and not being the Joker clown that he has been in WWE over the past 5 or so years. Now, of course, a lot of this is speculation. This literally just happened, but if you ask me, I think that WWE has the potential to really turn this into gold. Will they do it, though? Hey, I guess we'll see.